This is a video series about people who are fearlessly fighting the language barriers for their companies and customers. Many people have gone before them over the millennia of human civilization. The stories are sometimes heroic, but oftentimes end in lost fortunes. This time though, it's different. The technology is ready. Nobody needs to suffer from the foreign language barrier any longer. The world is becoming massively multilingual. Let's talk with the gurus who make this happen.
So TAUS also has this human language platform which aims to bridge the language data gap for the digitally less represented language. So where we have a platform where the users can work on the source data we provide and translate into their native languages. So this is how we are trying to help, and according to you, how can the rest of the world help in this case? Of course, there are companies like big IT giants like Google and Facebook. They are investing in the Indian market. But what else needs to be done to get all these Indic languages online?
So we all have already spoken about, the language and dialects changing every 40 kilometers in India, right? So right now, when we are starting off with the growth of internet usage in India, people will be okay with those 11 languages and then eventually the 22, because most of the people who can read or write may have gone to school, and in schools we do not teach 300 different languages. In schools, schools still are limited to only a certain set of languages which will get covered within this. So all these people would more or less know these languages and will be able to start using. But having said that, that will also find a saturation very, very quickly. People would want to be able to use their languages, and it is practically not going to work for companies to try collecting data all by themselves. And that is where I think more and more companies should come out with a marketplace and let smaller use cases get solved, smaller and regional use cases get solved by local data, which when shared with the others, helps everyone expand their scopes into different, final localities and regional dialects.
Great. Yeah, so now maybe a final question. We know also that you have significant funding through Reliance, and you have developed all these technologies. You were already saying that you have a few other technologies in the pipeline. What can we expect from Reverie in the coming 10 years? What are you working on? Anything that you can already share that we can get excited about?
Yeah, so absolutely, you are right, and we really value our partnership with Reliance because it's also an Indian company. It is solving problems for Indians, right, and especially digital inclusion. So for digital inclusion to happen, there are essentially three things which are there. One is the channel of access, which is mobile phone. Now, Reliance, through its Geo initiative, they have ensured that the channel of the mobile phone, a basic touch device through which internet can be accessed, that is easily affordable. So a lot of people can buy. The other thing that they have addressed is infrastructure, which is data mainly. So pervasiveness of data and the affordability of data. The third aspect of digital inclusion is really languages. So these are the three aspects. Languages is something that we are working on. That is why we believe that this partnership is quite valuable in addressing all aspects of digital inclusion. Now, I can't mention about 10 years, but I can tell you about what is it that we aspire to do in next 3 years. So there are three things that we really aspire to achieve in next 3 years. Okay. One is that through our technologies and through our various partners, so Reliance, large enterprises that we are targeting, then government. We want to reach at least 500 million Indians on a daily basis in next 2.5 to 3 years time, right? So we aspire that our technologies would touch at least 500 million Indians on a daily basis. That's one. Second one is that I also explained that we have taken a very different approach to solving this problem. That even though it is technology, but we are essentially solving the problem of user engagement, right? So we want the method that we have adopted, right, to be the most preferred method by our customers. So we want our platform to be the platform of choice by our customers in next 2 to 3 years time. So that's the second thing that we aspire to. The third one, Vivek mentioned about standards. It is quite unfortunate that Indian language standards are not necessarily very well represented by Indians. So therefore, those standards are faulty. So for example, our encoding standards, our editing standards, right, our keypad, various standards which are there, those are faultily implemented. And our third aspiration is that we should be able to influence the work with the government and influence so that Indian language standards are implemented the way they should be in correct manner, and those are owned by India. And also government sees merit in really owning those standards and making sure that anybody who is doing business in India, they follow the standards the way they should be. So to give you a very fundamental example, we all know that English has got 26 alphabets. That's universal truth, right? But when we ask the same question for Indian languages, let's say for example, Hindi, which has got 40% population in India, right, speaking population, even for Hindi, if you ask anybody that how many characters are there in Hindi, right, you will get very inconsistent answers. There is no one answer for that. The reason for that one is that even the Unicode pages for Hindi language have got characters which are not even taught in schools in India, right? So when these kids grow up, they will not be able to relate to how they can use those characters on digital media. So these are some of the fundamental problems because of which our computing is also corrupt, and that is one more area that needs to be addressed. So these are three main things that we are working towards, quite aspirational, but we are pretty excited. These are the things that keep us going.
Yeah, good. Now I have also a very hard final question. When do you think your work is done? When will we have language equality on the Indian?
Yeah, so that is why we have mentioned that language equality is our vision. Usually a vision of a company is large enough that outlives the founders, right? So we want a lot more people to be galvanized towards our vision. Even though language equality on the internet is achieved, but language equality in India is still a very big problem to solve. If we talk about education, if we talk about let's say access to economic opportunities, right? Language continues to be a barrier. Now, Indian Constitution has got 6 fundamental rights, and I believe language should be the 7th fundamental right, because without language, without an individual's right to be able to choose a language in which he or she wants to get educated, employed, it is impossible for someone to really exercise the rest of the fundamental rights. So language equality, in our opinion, is a very, very large, all-encompassing vision. But it's kind of something that is not short term.
Yeah.
It is something to continue to motivate people, and we'll continue to work towards that.
So thank you so much, Arvind and Vivek, for your information and for your knowledge sharing. This was very interesting for me, especially knowing not much or not enough about the Indian language market. Shikha, of course, is a bit more experienced, but thank you so much for your time today and for the great conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne, and thank you, Shikha. It was very, very nice interaction. Thoroughly enjoyed being part of this session today.
If you also want to break down the language barriers for your company and your customers, you need your language data to work for you. TAUS, the Language Data Network, provides data and tools for machine learning and for business intelligence.